The most dangerous person in any room isn't the strongest or smartest. It's the one whose next move you can't predict. Think about it. Sharks dominate the ocean not just because of their strength, but because their attack patterns remain a mystery to their prey. In human affairs, from business negotiations to personal relationships, the moment someone can predict your every move is the moment they gain control over you. What if I told you that being entirely predictable is slowly killing your influence? Your consistent routine, your measured responses, your reliable patterns, they're making you forgettable. But there's power in the unexpected. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago when he recognized that unpredictability is not chaos, it's control. Today, I'm going to reveal why the most influential people throughout history mastered the art of strategic unpredictability. You'll discover how calculated pattern breaking can transform your ability to negotiate, lead, and command respect in any situation. The truth is, we're drawn to what we can't fully understand. We're captivated by what we can't predict. That's why the most memorable characters in movies, books, and real life are those whose actions surprise us. They break the mold of expectations. By the end of this video, you'll understand why consistency can sometimes be your greatest weakness, and how controlled unpredictability might be the most powerful tool you've never been taught to use. This isn't about being erratic. It's about becoming strategically unforgettable. Are you ready to learn why sometimes the most predictable move is to be unpredictable? Number 1. The pattern interrupt principle. Have you ever noticed how some people seem to command attention the moment they walk into a room? There's something about them that's magnetically different. While everyone else blends into the background, these individuals stand out effortlessly. What's their secret? The answer might surprise you. They've mastered something I call the pattern interrupt principle. Think about your daily interactions. Most people are desperately trying to appear consistent. They show up the same way, speak the same way, and react the same way in every situation. They believe this consistency builds trust. But does it really? Or does it just make them forgettable? Consider this. When was the last time your brain truly paid attention to your regular commute to work? You probably can't remember the details because your brain filters out predictable information. It's the same with people. When someone is perfectly predictable, your brain literally starts to ignore them. The most influential people throughout history understood this psychological blind spot. They deliberately created pattern interrupts, unexpected moments that jolted others into paying full attention. Think of Steve Jobs with his famous "one more thing," moments that kept audiences on the edge of their seats, or how Muhammad Ali would swing between poetic eloquence and fierce intensity, keeping opponents mentally off balance. Let me share something fascinating from negotiation research. When people expect a gradual compromise process and instead face someone who alternates between extreme positions and reasonable ones, they experience cognitive dissonance. This mental discomfort actually makes them more likely to accept terms they wouldn't normally agree to. Here's the first powerful technique of 5 that I'm going to share with you today. Master the art of strategic inconsistency. Instead of aiming for perfect consistency, intentionally create pattern interrupts in your communication and behavior. If you always speak formally, occasionally drop in casual language. If you typically agree immediately, sometimes take time to consider. If you're known for being detail-oriented, occasionally focus on the big picture instead. This isn't random behavior, it's strategic unpredictability. The key is to remain authentic while breaking expected patterns. Think of it as having multiple authentic versions of yourself that you can deploy at will. The benefits are immediate and powerful. People pay more attention to what you say. They remember your points longer. They find you more interesting and engage more deeply with your ideas. Most importantly, they can never put you in a box or assume they've figured you out completely. In business meetings, try shifting your communication style mid-conversation. Start analytical, then switch to storytelling. In personal relationships, surprise people with unexpected thoughtfulness when they least expect it. In negotiations, don't follow the predictable dance of offer and counter-offer. Occasionally break the pattern with silence, an extreme position, or an unexpected concession. Remember, humans are prediction machines. We constantly try to predict what others will do next. Number 2, the calculated uncertainty effect. Have you ever noticed how casinos keep players gambling for hours? They've mastered something psychologists call variable reward scheduling, the art of creating uncertainty about when the next reward will come. This uncertainty creates an almost irresistible pull on the human mind. Now, what if I told you that you could harness this same powerful psychological principle in your everyday interactions? We live in a world obsessed with certainty. People spend fortunes on insurance policies, security systems, and expert advice, all to gain a sense of predictability. But here's the paradox. While everyone craves certainty, they're magnetically drawn to controlled uncertainty. Think about the most engaging stories, the most captivating people, the most successful business leaders. They all create a sense of what happens next. This brings us to our second principle of strategic unpredictability, the calculated uncertainty effect. Most people try to be completely transparent and immediate with their responses. They answer texts instantly, make decisions on the spot, and telegraph their intentions clearly. They believe this responsiveness makes them valuable. But what if this constant availability is actually diminishing their perceived value? Consider this. The things we value most in life often involve waiting and uncertainty. The job offer that takes days to arrive. The romantic interest who doesn't immediately reveal their feelings. The limited edition product that might sell out before you can buy it. This uncertainty doesn't frustrate us. It captivates us. By becoming what I call a controlled variable in others' equations, you tap into this powerful psychological trigger. When you occasionally, and I emphasize occasionally, withhold immediate responses or delay decisions without explanation, you create a vacuum. Nature abhors a vacuum, and so does the human mind. People fill this empty space with attention, consideration, and often concessions. Let me be clear. This isn't about being difficult or playing mind games. It's about strategically creating moments where others must invest more mental energy in you. It's about recognizing that your thoughts, decisions, and responses have value that shouldn't always be given away instantly. Think about the last time someone took unusually long to respond to an important message. Did you forget about them? Or did they occupy more of your mental real estate? Did you start considering their perspective more deeply? Most likely, their silence made you more invested in the interaction, not less. Here's how to implement this principle. First, identify areas where you typically respond instantly or predictably. Then, introduce calculated delays or uncertainty in select situations. Maybe you don't immediately accept a meeting request, but consider it overnight. Perhaps you don't instantly agree with a persuasive argument, but take time to reflect. When negotiating, don't rush to fill silence. Let it stretch uncomfortably until the other person feels compelled to improve their offer. When sharing ideas, hold back one key insight until people are fully invested in hearing it. The power of this approach isn't just psychological, it's practical. When you take time before responding, you make better decisions. You consider angles others miss in their rush to respond. You develop a reputation for thoughtfulness rather than reactivity. The most influential people throughout history understood this principle intuitively. They knew when to be immediately responsive and when to become a strategic unknown. They recognized that becoming a controlled variable in others' equations doesn't diminish their connection, it deepens it. So ask yourself, where in your life are you giving away your attention, decisions, and responses too quickly? Where might a calculated element of uncertainty actually increase your influence and impact? Remember, in a world desperate for certainty, controlled uncertainty becomes an irresistible force. Number 3. The strategic vulnerability paradox. What if I told you that one of the most powerful ways to become unpredictable has nothing to do with strength and everything to do with what appears to be weakness? It sounds counterintuitive, I know. Most advice tells us to hide our vulnerabilities, to maintain a perfect facade of competence and control. But what if that approach is actually making you predictable, forgettable, and ultimately less powerful? Think about the most compelling leaders you've ever encountered. There's something about them that feels simultaneously powerful and authentic. They command respect without seeming infallible. In fact, their occasional moments of carefully revealed vulnerability often cement their influence rather than undermining it. This brings us to our third principle, the strategic vulnerability paradox. Most people fall into one of two predictable traps. Either they hide all weaknesses behind a wall of perfectionism, or they overshare every insecurity in an attempt to seem authentic. Both approaches are predictable, and neither is strategically sound. The most unpredictable and influential leaders take a different approach entirely. Here's what they understand. While constant vulnerability signals weakness and perfect invulnerability signals inauthenticity, the selective and unexpected revelation of specific vulnerabilities creates an asymmetric information advantage. When you control which vulnerabilities to expose and when, you're actually demonstrating power, while others believe they're gaining insight into your true nature. Consider historical figures like Lincoln, who strategically shared stories of his humble beginnings not as apologies but as tools of connection. Or modern CEOs who admit specific mistakes publicly while maintaining command of their broader narrative. These aren't moments of weakness, they're calculated demonstrations of strength through selective authenticity. The psychological mechanism at work is fascinating. When someone appears perfect and flawless, we instinctively look for their weaknesses. We don't trust them fully because we know they're hiding something. But when someone reveals a specific vulnerability at an unexpected moment, two things happen. First, we stop looking for hidden flaws because we believe we've found them. Second, we develop a deeper sense of trust and connection with the person. Here's the third powerful technique I'm sharing with you today. Master the strategic revelation of vulnerability. Instead of hiding all weaknesses or revealing them indiscriminately, identify specific vulnerabilities that you can strategically share at unexpected moments. If you're in a position of authority, occasionally admit what you don't know. If you're known for your expertise, sometimes share the story of a past failure. If you're seen as analytical, reveal an emotional connection to your work. The timing of these revelations is crucial. Don't share vulnerabilities defensively or when you're already under pressure. Share them from a position of strength when no one is expecting them. This unexpected openness creates a powerful pattern interrupt that makes you more unpredictable and more memorable. The benefits of this approach are substantial. People develop deeper trust in your authenticity. They feel more connected to you as a human being. Most importantly, they stop trying to find your real weaknesses because they believe you've already revealed them. This gives you a significant advantage in negotiations, leadership, and personal relationships. But remember this critical distinction. Strategic vulnerability is not about exposing your greatest weaknesses or liabilities. It's about selectively revealing human dimensions that enhance rather than undermine your core narrative. A leader might share their struggle with public speaking while excelling at strategic decision-making. An expert might reveal their initial failures in a field where they're now recognized authorities. The most unpredictable leaders know that perfection isn't just unattainable, it's undesirable. True influence comes not from appearing flawless, but from controlling your own narrative through strategic authenticity. When you decide which vulnerabilities to reveal and when, you're not showing weakness, you're demonstrating ultimate control. So ask yourself, where have you been hiding behind perfectionism? What strategic vulnerabilities could you reveal that would deepen trust rather than diminish your authority? The path to becoming truly unforgettable often begins with becoming strategically vulnerable. Number 4. The deliberate contradiction method. Have you ever noticed how the most forgettable people are those who never seem to surprise you? They hold the same opinions, express the same ideas, and take the same positions day after day. You can predict exactly what they'll say before they open their mouths. Now, what if I told you that the most influential people throughout history did exactly the opposite? They mastered the art of deliberate contradiction. Most of us are taught from an early age to be consistent in our opinions. We're told that flip-flopping is a sign of weakness, that changing our minds shows indecision. But what if this conventional wisdom is actually limiting your influence and making you forgettable? What if intellectual consistency, taken too far, becomes nothing more than predictable rigidity? This brings us to our 4th principle of strategic unpredictability, the deliberate contradiction method. The most fascinating minds throughout history, from Leonardo da Vinci to Winston Churchill to Steve Jobs, were notorious for holding and expressing seemingly contradictory viewpoints. These weren't signs of confusion or hypocrisy. They were demonstrations of intellectual flexibility that made these figures impossible to predict or dismiss. Think about it. When someone always takes the conservative position or always takes the progressive position, you can safely ignore half of what they say because you already know what it will be. But when someone thoughtfully argues multiple sides of an issue, you're forced to listen to everything they say because you can never predict where they'll land. Here's the 4th powerful technique I'm sharing with you today. Instead of maintaining rigid consistency in your opinions, intentionally develop and express seemingly contradictory viewpoints on different occasions. To be clear, this isn't about being hypocritical or unprincipled. It's about recognizing that complex issues have multiple valid perspectives and demonstrating the intellectual agility to understand and articulate those different viewpoints. It's about being principled but not predictable. For example, in one meeting you might argue passionately for bold innovation and risk-taking. In another, you might advocate for careful consideration of tradition and proven methods. Neither position is dishonest if you genuinely see value in both approaches. By showing this intellectual range, you become impossible to categorize, and therefore impossible to dismiss or predict. The psychological impact is profound. When people can't put you in a neat ideological box, they're forced to engage with your ideas on their merits, rather than dismissing them based on category. They come to see you not as a predictable partisan, but as a thoughtful evaluator of complex realities. This makes your support more valuable, precisely because it can't be taken for granted. I'm not suggesting you should randomly contradict yourself. The key is to develop genuine appreciation for multiple perspectives and to express those different viewpoints thoughtfully and authentically. The contradictions should reflect the true complexity of your thinking, not simple inconsistency. Historical examples abound. Franklin D. Roosevelt was famously described as having a second-class intellect but a first-class temperament, precisely because of his willingness to try contradictory approaches to solve the Great Depression. One advisor noted that Roosevelt's willingness to try one approach, then pivot to a seemingly contradictory one, made him unpredictable to opponents and remarkably effective as a leader. In your own life, try this approach in conversations and meetings. If you typically argue for practical considerations, occasionally advocate for bold vision. If you're known for emphasizing efficiency, sometimes champion quality regardless of time constraints. Don't frame these as flip-flops, but as recognition of the complex interplay of different values. The most powerful aspect of this method is that it creates a sense of unpredictability that keeps others engaged and attentive. When people can never fully predict your position, they must listen more carefully to everything you say. They must consider your actual arguments rather than dismissing you based on perceived ideology. So ask yourself, have you become intellectually predictable? Are there complex issues where you could authentically develop and express seemingly contradictory viewpoints? Remember, the goal isn't contradiction for its own sake, but intellectual flexibility that makes you impossible to predict or dismiss. The most unforgettable people aren't those who never contradict themselves. They're those whose contradictions reveal deeper truths. Number 5. The expectation inversion technique. Have you ever watched someone who has been typecast as the numbers person suddenly deliver the most emotionally powerful presentation in a meeting? Or seen the normally quiet team member suddenly take control of a chaotic situation with unexpected authority? These moments are unforgettable precisely because they shatter our expectations. They force us to completely reassess what we thought we knew about a person. Most people spend their entire careers and lives reinforcing a single identity. They become known as the analytical one, the creative one, the cautious one, or the bold one. While this consistency might make them reliable, it also makes them predictable. And predictable people, as we've discussed throughout this video, rarely command lasting influence or attention. This brings us to our 5th and final principle of strategic unpredictability, the expectation inversion technique. The most unforgettable people throughout history understood something profound about human psychology. Nothing commands attention like a shattered expectation. When we think we have someone figured out and they suddenly exhibit qualities that contradict our mental model of them, we're forced to pay extraordinary attention and reassess everything we thought we knew. Here's the 5th powerful technique I'm sharing with you today. Identify what others expect from you in specific situations, then occasionally invert those expectations completely. The key word here is occasionally. This isn't about becoming erratic or inauthentic. It's about strategically revealing dimensions of yourself that others don't expect to see. It's about expanding others' perception of your capabilities, rather than allowing yourself to be permanently typecast in a limited role. For example, if you're known for being analytical, surprise colleagues with an emotionally resonant presentation that connects data to human impact. If you typically speak first in meetings, remain silent until the end, and then deliver a perspective no one anticipated. If you're known for careful planning, occasionally embrace spontaneity with unexpected confidence. The psychological effect is immediate and powerful. People can't help but pay attention when their expectations are inverted. More importantly, they can't help but remember these moments. They become reference points that permanently expand how others see you and what they believe you're capable of. This technique has been employed by some of history's most influential figures. Abraham Lincoln was known for his folksy, humble demeanor, which made it all the more powerful when he occasionally displayed unexpected scholarly depth or flashes of commanding authority. These inversions of expectation made him impossible to dismiss or fully predict. In modern contexts, think of leaders who are known for being tough and demanding suddenly showing unexpected compassion, or creative visionaries showing surprising attention to financial details. These moments aren't just noticed, they're remembered and retold because they force a complete reassessment of the person. The implementation of this technique requires self-awareness and timing. You must first understand how others have typecast you. what role they expect you to play in every interaction. Then you must choose strategic moments to reveal completely different capabilities or approaches. The revelation should be authentic but unexpected, forcing others to expand their mental model of who you are and what you can do. This calculated role-breaking creates what I call a psychological respect loop, where others must continually reassess their understanding of your capabilities. They can never put you in a box because just when they think they have you figured out, you reveal another dimension they didn't anticipate. This ongoing reassessment commands both attention and respect. In your career, identify moments where breaking your expected role would create maximum impact. If you're the technical expert, occasionally demonstrate unexpected leadership. If you're the creative visionary, sometimes show surprising pragmatism. These inversions don't diminish your core strengths. They complement them by revealing your full range of capabilities. Remember, the goal isn't to be inconsistent for its own sake. It's to prevent others from limiting their perception of what you're capable of. It's to remain authentically complex rather than predictably one-dimensional. So ask yourself, how have others typecast you? What unexpected capabilities or approaches could you reveal that would force them to reassess everything they think they know about you? The most unforgettable people aren't those who play a single role perfectly. They're those who reveal surprising depth and range when least expected. As we come to the end of our journey through Machiavelli's Chaos Theory, remember this: predictability may bring comfort, but unpredictability brings power. The 5 techniques we've explored, the pattern interrupt principle, the calculated uncertainty effect, the strategic vulnerability paradox, the deliberate contradiction method, and the expectation inversion technique, are not just theoretical concepts. They are practical tools that have been employed by history's most influential figures. Begin implementing these techniques gradually. Start with small pattern interrupts. Create moments of calculated uncertainty. Share strategic vulnerabilities. Demonstrate intellectual flexibility through deliberate contradiction. And occasionally invert expectations completely. With each unpredictable move, you'll find your influence growing, your words carrying more weight, and your presence becoming truly unforgettable. Remember, this isn't about becoming erratic. It's about becoming strategically unforgettable. Because when you become unpredictable, you become unforgettable. And when you become unforgettable, you become unstoppable. The next video the algorithm chose for you isn't random. It's your next tactical upgrade. Click it now and continue your silent ascent.